Welcome, everyone. Welcome. It's so wonderful that we are here in person, together, to celebrate. So students, loved ones, staff, and faculty, welcome to the White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2027 at Weill Cornell Medical College. I'm Yoon Kang, the Senior Associate Dean for Education, and the Richard P. Cohn, MD, Associate Professor of Medical Education. And I'm truly thrilled that we're all here together. The White Coat Ceremony is one of the most celebrated academic events at Weill Cornell. It's a bookend ceremony to graduation, where students receive their first white coat as a rite of passage into the field of medicine. The white coat itself does serve as a uniform of our noble profession, but far more importantly, the white coat is a symbol of a commitment to humanism and to care of the patient. And today, humanism in medicine and understanding the individual lives and stories of patients is more important than ever. We're privileged today to have a very special group of faculty who will assist our students in donning white coats as this first step in establishing their professional identities as physicians. Each of these faculty members embodies the very best of our profession and showcases to you, class of 2027, the range of what is possible at Weill Cornell. When I say the name of each faculty member, I ask that they stand. Dr. Erica Abramson, Assistant Dean of Education Research, Outcomes, and Innovation, a Professor of Pediatrics and Professor of Population Health Sciences. Dr. June Chan, Assistant Dean of the Clinical Curriculum and Assistant Professor of Clinical Anesthesiology. Dr. Salvatore A. Silmi is the Aaron Krantz Associate Dean of Academic Affairs and Assistant Professor of Medicine. Dr. Richard P. Cohen, in whose honor my professorship is endowed, is an active Weill Cornell alumnus, class of 1975, and a clinical professor of medicine. Dr. Joseph J. Finns, another Weill Cornell alumnus, class of 1986, is the E. William Davis Jr., MD, Professor of Medical Ethics, and has professorships in several departments: medicine, medicine and psychiatry, medical ethics and neurology, rehab medicine, and population health sciences. Our students actually had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Finns this morning as he led a very engaging and interactive session on the Hippocratic Oath. Dr. Dana Gurvich is the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs and Student Life and Assistant Professor of Clinical Anesthesiology. Dr. Kelvin Holcomb is the Associate Dean of Admissions, Vice Chairman of Gynecology, and a Professor of Clinical Obstetrics and Gynecology. Dr. Joy Howell is the Assistant Dean for Diversity and Student Life and a Professor of Clinical Pediatrics. Dr. Keith Lascalia is the Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Student Life and Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Dr. Jennifer Lee is the Assistant Dean for Program Development and Operations and Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Dr. Jessica Pena, another Weill Cornell alumnus, class of 2003, is an Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine and Associate Professor of Medicine in Clinical Radiology, and the former Assistant Dean of Admissions. And as I meet our class of 2027 students, I'm deeply grateful to both Dr. Holcomb and to Dr. Pena for their leadership in shaping this first-year class, and I'm sure the class is as well. Dr. Joseph Safdie is the Gertrude File Associate Dean of Curricular Affairs, Vice Chair of Education in the Department of Neurology, and a Professor of Neurology. Dr. Kushal Shah is Assistant Dean of Academic Advising, Vice Chair of Education in the Department of Emergency Medicine, and a Professor of Clinical Emergency Medicine. Dr. Joshua Weaver, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs and Student Life, and Assistant Professor of Clinical Neurology. So thank you again to all of our faculty participants. Now, class of 2027, this is about you, so I'd like to talk a little bit more about all of you. Weill Cornell has had a long commitment to a breadth of excellence in its student body and academic community, in keeping with Cornell University's founding principle of any person, any study. and each of you comes to Weill Cornell with extraordinary achievements and personal stories. Collectively, you are residents of 21 different U.S. states. 46% of you are women, 26% are first-generation college students. You've attended 52 different undergraduate colleges across 23 states. 11 of you attended Cornell University. 17 students participated in intercollegiate athletics. 8 students have earned master's degrees, and 1 student is coming in with a PhD, is already a doctor as well. Weill Cornell has a strong global footprint, and the group has very strong global ties. Collectively, you were born in 15 countries, and 40% of the class is bilingual or multilingual. You've lived, studied, and worked in a remarkable number of places around the world. Service, leadership, and community engagement are core values of Weill Cornell, as is a dedication to discovery and innovation. Collectively, you've had over 240 research experiences and contributed to over 50 scholarly publications. Class of 2027, I think it goes without saying that you are an incredibly inspiring group of individuals. I'm so honored to welcome you today as you embark on your journey at Weill Cornell Medicine and begin this next step in your professional lives as future leaders and innovators in medicine. Now it is an honor to present the white coat speaker for your class, Dr. Linny Golightly. Dr. Golightly is Weill Cornell's Associate Dean of Diversity and Inclusion, an Associate Professor in Medicine, Microbiology, and Immunology, and Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. She is also a Weill Cornell alumnus, class of 1983. Dr. Golightly, I was wondering. Dr. Golightly, if I could go for it. Dr. Golightly trained in internal medicine at Harlem Hospital, serving as chief medical resident, followed by a fellowship in the Harvard Combined Infectious Disease Training Program and postdoctoral research fellowship at the Harvard School of Public Health. Dr. Golightly has been an attending physician at the Beth Israel Hospital in Boston, the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City, and at the Weill Cornell Medicine Travel Clinic at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center. Her research focus is infectious diseases endemic to low and middle income countries, with an emphasis on malaria, as well as factors affecting the retention of women and underrepresented minorities and citizens of low and middle income countries in academic careers. She's active in teaching and mentoring, having served as Infectious Disease Fellowship Program Director, Director of the Infectious Disease Medical School module, and the Ben Keene course in Tropical Medicine at Weill Cornell. She's received awards for her teaching and has lectured and trained undergraduates, medical students, and fellows from both the United States and abroad. In her capacity as Associate Dean of Diversity and Inclusion at Weill Cornell Medicine, Dr. Golightly directs programs to enhance community and career pathways and to foster an inclusive environment. She's also been appointed to multiple national and international leadership positions and is currently President-elect of the American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, the largest international scientific organization of experts dedicated to reducing the worldwide burden of tropical infectious diseases and improving global health. So Dr. Golightly is a true leader in medicine and an advocate for trainees at all levels. She's also a very thoughtful person who makes anyone and everyone in her sphere feel special and welcome. We're so honored to have her join us today to share words of wisdom. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Linny Golightly.
Well, thank you for that very generous introduction. And I do indeed bring you greetings from the class of 1983. To our new student honorees, to our families and friends, distinguished guests, and to my colleagues, it is indeed my great privilege to speak to you on this special occasion, during which the newest members of our Weill Cornell community, the mighty incoming class of 2027, will receive their white coats. I have to admit that when I began my journey and received my own white coat, it was before there were ceremonies such as this to mark the occasion. I do recall, however, one of the physicians at our orientation saying that he thought that our coats should come with instructions, like those provided with his son's Halloween Superman costume, advising parents to warn their child that when they put on their Superman capes, that didn't mean that they could really fly. And so I'd like to ponder with you in the next few minutes on that theme, the many meanings of a white coat, what powers it does and doesn't confer, what it might or might not signify or permit you, the wearer, to do, and provide some thoughts on what the white coat might mean to each of you. With this in mind, perhaps it's best to begin with my own journey. I still remember waking up here in New York City for the first time in my dorm room in Olin Hall across the street, and hearing horns honking, even before I opened my eyes, and knowing that I wasn't in the Midwest anymore, where horns were honked only in case of emergency. Like the heroine Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, she with her ruby slippers and me with my little white coat. I found myself in a truly magical land, and like Dorothy, I and you too will make friends along the way. It's a big city, but the school is actually a small place, and yours is not a large class. This is a place where you can really get to know folks, people you will connect with for a lifetime. I had lunch with two of my old classmates just a couple of weeks ago. I say all of that just in case any of you were worrying about that like I was. And in any case, I was provided with wondrous opportunities through an incredible mentor, Dr. Warren Johnson, founder of our Center for Global Health, who sent me to rural Brazil not once but twice, where I participated in studies of mucocutaneous leishmaniasis, a disease that in most cases causes a painless sore, but in some results in devastating facial destruction. I decided that I wanted to do something about such understudied diseases that, although rare in this country, can be devastating, causing life-altering effects for so many people of color like me worldwide. Most of my classmates thought that I was a little nuts. My mom too, frankly. Lenny, London, Paris, Rome, why are you running off to a bush somewhere to study a disease that can eat off your nose? And when I matched at Harlem Hospital, a place with an excellent reputation for training, but also known for its tough city hospital working conditions, many thought that it was some sort of a mix-up or mistake. But it wasn't. It was a path that brought me excellent training while servicing my community, and where I began my discovery of something that I hadn't appreciated, that my Weill Cornell Ivy League education had provided me with the educational tools that I needed to work anywhere. There in Harlem and Harvard, bench to bedside, Haiti and Ghana, and back home again, here as a faculty member. Truly good medicine is the same everywhere, and you will be provided with that here. But it is our job, those of us in white coats, to learn what truly good care is, and to enable you and for you to enable others to fight for that good care everywhere. So what about the purported need for instructions with a white coat? About the need to remember that we and you cannot fly once vested in it? Well, I have to admit that in a way, he was right. Although made of nothing but white cloth, it does have some mystical effects that you need to be aware of. People will treat you differently after you have been vested with the white coat, almost a kind of reverence. And if you are not careful, like many a purported superhero, there are a lot of movies out there these days you can look at for reference, you too may be taken under the spell of your attire, and ever so slowly begin to believe that you have incredible powers and are, well, not quite mortal. The coat can emit for some a sort of shield that keeps them from doing normal and essential human things. For incredibly important reasons, of course. I mean, you have an important person and you have important things to do. So you can't take that vacation or even use all the days you have off. No time anymore to read a good book, take a walk, sit quietly in the sun, spend time with the people that you love, meet with a friend, be there for your children. Missed birthday parties, graduations. I've seen it. Don't succumb. Don't let the intoxicating power of the coat become an excuse for a life out of balance. Remember, it's not attached to you. You can and must take it off from time to time. And if after you take it off, you're still not somehow back to yourself, Don't let the lingering effect of the white coat spell convince you that you are a super person who heals others, but you really don't need any healing from someone else yourself. No, that's not for you. Heed the signs, know the symptoms, seek help. There's no shame in that. Your duties can and will wait until you restore yourself. And there are other corollary powers of the code. Perhaps you've already felt sway. Folks are apt to make statements that you are the best and the brightest, and you are, of course, in a way, the best and the brightest of those who have had the chances and opportunities to make it this far, as each of you had. Yes, you've won the incredible privilege of wearing a white coat, which permits you to forge new paths in medicine and science, patient care and health equity that can indeed literally change our world. But there's an old Farmer's Almanac verse that I would keep in mind as you do it. One needs to get enough education so that no one can look down on you, but then enough more to know not to look down on anyone else. And please forgive the suggestion that you would ever look down upon anyone else now that you have a white coat. But it is a known malady that strikes some and whose symptoms may be hard to discern. It can creep into explanations to patients who can't seem to understand what's best for them, and even conversations with colleagues and friends who have different points of view. Yes, there are many maladies that you can suffer from if you're not careful with your white coat, but don't worry too much. If you need a course correction, if you find that you have indeed become metaphorically ill wearing your white coat, if it's besmudged in any way, it is indeed fully machine washable. Check the tag. It's true. Put it in the washing machine. And while it's cleaning, remember the lesson of the Sankofa bird. Keep your feet facing forward. Arch your head back to reach for the lessons learned from your mistakes, and then put on your cleaned coat. Keep moving forward. We all make mistakes. And as you move forward, learning from your errors and embracing the promises of the code, well, things that you can do. Maybe like Dr. Jean William Pop, class of '75. He performed seminal studies on a new disease then, HIV/AIDS, and in the process founded the incredible world-class Gesquio Center in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Recipient of the Parisian Legion of Honor from the President of France, he has continued working in Haiti through hurricanes, earthquakes, and coups. Even now, when the situation is beyond dire, I refer you to a piece he wrote recently in the New York Times. He remains there in Haiti, proudly wearing his white coat and serving his people. And then there's Frank Douglas, class of '77, with a PhD from Cornell Ithaca in physical chemistry, the founder and first executive director of the MIT Center for Biomedical Innovation, and an illustrious career in leadership in the biopharmaceutical industry. An immigrant from Guyana, he is a fierce believer in the power that diverse teams can bring to medical science, so much if only we are willing to reach across whatever barriers might divide us. So as a black man taking a new position in Germany, he decided that the best course to show his new colleagues his dedication and sincerity was to learn how to speak German. And so he arrived at the first day fluently speaking German. He literally learned to talk the talk, wearing and bringing honor to his white coat. And then there's Dr. Peter Hotez, class of '87, Rockefeller PhD also, internationally recognized physician scientist in neglected tropical diseases and vaccine development. Perhaps you've seen him on CNN. He has, of all things, been dubbed an OG villain. I know I'd never heard of it either. It stands for Original Gangster Villain. And I can assure you that with his graying hair and classic bow tie, you can Google him and take a look, he doesn't look like any kind of gangster, and he is certainly not a villain, at least not in the classic sense. But you see, he believes firmly in science-based medicine and wrote a book about how vaccines didn't cause his daughter Rachel's autism, which, along with being a staunch proponent of COVID-19 vaccine, brought him his OG villain moniker, which he carries with good humor, his white coat impeccable, as he proudly stands up for what he believes in. And of course, the incredible Mae Jemison, class of '81, who is not only a physician but an astronaut, indeed the first African-American woman to travel to space. But we don't have to go so far back to find giants in white coats. Your relative contemporaries have brought pride and legacy incredibly. In 2018, when a hate group put out the word on the internet that they would picket our long-standing annual LGBT Health Workforce Conference, we were warned that their intent was to raise a ruckus, that they relished confrontations, as they would draw media attention and amplify their abhorrent and odious views. Our ingenious students designed a powerful, silent counter-protest of painting rainbows on the hands of passerbys to signal their alliance with the conference. And we can never forget those members of the mighty class of 2020 who, recognizing the urgent need for more medical professions in the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, petitioned to graduate early to move more swiftly and join the battle. And yet, for all the tales of honorable deeds done by those wearing white coats, there are other factors that play that may affect how you are viewed while wearing your white coat, and hence the work that you can accomplish. Children may associate them with painful shots, hence so many children adorn their coats with cute little cheery doodle daddles. And then there are the darker tales that some in white coats have done or not done, resulting in harm. Tales that we would all prefer to forget, but must remember. For example, I was told a story once by a woman named Daisy. She actually came here to the campus. Daisy told me that in a different time and place, when she was very, very young, her father was seriously injured. They lived in a rural area, and he was taken in the back of a wagon some distance to get medical care. But those doctors in their white coats refused to treat him. You see, his skin was black. So they sent him back home, where he died a week later of his injuries, leaving Daisy without a father, her mother without a husband, but with 5 children, the youngest, who was only 9 months of age. And although the case Daisy related about those wearing white coats who left her father to die seems clearly wrong and not germane to you, be sure that you will face your own dilemmas, emerging ethical cases that, due to our expanding scientific knowledge and medical capabilities, may not always be so clear-cut. Fluctuating definitions of what is ethical and unethical as our ability to prolong life expands, and indeed understanding, misunderstanding, or confusion about what indeed constitutes life itself. Not long ago, I found myself confronted with an ethical quandary forged by novel techniques and medical differences of opinion, and ended up seeking out Dr. Joseph Finn's class of '86, who, as you've already noted, is here today. Dr. Finns, give them another wave. I only told him a few seconds ago I was going to talk about it. As mentioned before, professor of medical ethics and chief of division of medical ethics, among his many, many accomplishments. He was incredibly helpful, and we spoke at length. I heard about the inception of his career during the early debates about the prolongation of life using ventilators, concerns about what constituted consciousness and brain death, of whether some on machines were even truly alive. And then the conversation drifted into grave injustices, Tuskegee, and unspeakable atrocities, the Nazis, things performed by some who have worn white coats. We spoke of how we must be ever vigilant in upholding our solemn duty to protect the sacred rights of those in our care, and it will be now yours also. And that brings us back to Daisy's story of her father who died because doctors outright refused to treat him. I've thought of it much since I first heard about it, of how, in contrast, I've never lacked for anything medically, always having had access to the best of medical care my entire life. But if you're a follower of superhero stories, I'm sure that some of you have guessed that Daisy wasn't just some random person who visited here. She came for the medical school graduation of her niece, the daughter of her sister who was but 9 months old when her father died. And yes, that 9-month-old grew up to be my mother. It was my graduation, And I stand before you now wearing my own white coat, and ironically, have the power to provide the care that others denied my grandfather. Some of you will know that in the tradition of my people, there is talk of a great cloud of witnesses, composed of those who have gone before us. They stand ever ready to cheer us on, cajole, or encourage us as need be, as we run our own mortal race before joining them. And given my speaking here of there being mystical powers in machine-washable white cloth coats, perhaps you could stretch just a little bit further with me now and imagine that cloud. Or perhaps translate the idea and bridge any gaps using your own traditions or languages. And if you can imagine it, perhaps you might feel or know what I do now. That my grandfather is there smiling at you, the mighty class of 2027. He's smiling knowing that the Ghanaian saying is true of you, that while the one clearing the path with the machete doesn't know that it's crooked behind them, that you see the rough, uneven grass, and that when vested with your own coat now, with the knowledge, you can start a fresh path of your own, using all the powers vested in you by the coats you will receive today, and it will be a straighter, more just path. And yes, much like Dorothy learned, you will realize at some point that the power she needed was not in her ruby slippers any more than it's in your own white coat. The power was within Dorothy, and it's within each one of you now. Make no mistake, she had to learn a lot, and you're going to learn a heck of a lot coming the next 4 years. I hear, did classes start next week? But never forget that the raw stuff that you need is already within you. And the last thing I want to say, because I want to be perfectly clear, I can tell you with all certainty, no, you can't fly with that white coat. But oh, my friends, you can soar. Soar on to the class of 2027. I salute you.
Take a moment to reflect on, Dr. Golightly. Those were incredible, incredible words. So now I'm going to, continue to turn to sort of the next, portion of this, incredibly important ceremony and talk a little bit about the Hippocratic Oath. So as you all learned this morning, in our profession, it's an ancient custom that no one may be admitted into the ranks of physician who has not first expressly accepted its responsibilities as set forth in an oath. At Weill Cornell, as in many other medical colleges, we use an oath that bears the name of Hippocrates. In the 2,000 years since its creation, the Hippocratic Oath has been revised many times to reflect changes in the practice of medicine, while remaining faithful to its fundamental values. A decade ago, a committee of students and faculty here met to revise the Hippocratic Oath, which is administered at commencement ceremonies. The revised oath was first taken at commencement of class of 2005 and has been used here ever since. Students, you will not take the oath until your graduation. As Dr. Golightly said, you will soar, but not quite yet completely independently. I'm just making that, as the education dean, I just want to make that clear. Your safety first, in every sense of the word. Parents, you're with me, yes? So students, again, you will not take your oath until graduation. Nonetheless, on this day, when you don your white coats for the first time, as official medical students, I will read it so you can all hear. As you listen to the oath, please reflect upon its meaning as you start your course of study here at Weill Cornell and through all your years as physicians and, as Dr. Golightly said, as superheroes. the Weill Cornell Medical College Hippocratic Oath. I do solemnly vow to that which I value and hold most dear, that I will honor the profession of medicine, be just and generous to its members, and help sustain them in their service to humanity. That just as I've heard from those who preceded me, so will I instruct those who follow me in the science and the art of medicine. That I will recognize the limits of my knowledge and pursue lifelong learning to better care for the sick and to prevent illness. That I will seek the counsel of others when they are more expert, so as to fulfill my obligation to those who are entrusted to my care. That I will not withdraw from my patients in their time of need. That I will lead my life and practice my art with integrity and honor, using my power wisely. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of my patients that is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep in confidence. That into whatever house I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick. That I will maintain the sacred trust, holding myself far aloof from wrong, from corrupt, from the tempting of others to vice. That above all else, I will serve the highest interests of my patients through the practice of my science and my art. That I will be an advocate for patients in need and strive for justice in the care of the sick. I turn now to my calling, promising to preserve its finest traditions with the reward of a long experience in the joy of healing. I make this vow freely and upon my honor. So again, class of 2027, hopefully you'll reflect on those words today, and going forward. I now would like to reintroduce Dr. Holcomb and invite him to read the names. Assistant Dean for Admissions, he will read the names of each group of students and the faculty coders who will help our students don their first white coats. Students, after you receive your white coats, please come to the side of the auditorium over there, the stage, pardon me, to pick up your stethoscopes as well.
Thank you, Dean Kang, and good afternoon to you all. Before presenting the class of 2027, I really want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of the Weill Cornell Committee on Admissions and the Screening Committee. Many of the members are working today and not able to be here. But these groups of faculty really dedicate significant amount of time and thoughtful consideration into our holistic admissions process that produced this amazing medical school class before us today. I took a picture earlier, which I'll share with them at that first meeting of the year, because it's so special to see you all together for the first time, because you guys represent our vision of the future of medicine. And it's a vision of bold innovation and equity and compassion. And so it's a pleasure to welcome you all to the Weill Cornell family. I feel like I know many of you already from reviewing your very impressive applications and having the honor of interviewing a few of you, and those are even more impressive. And so today we welcome you into the family. I'm going to read your names in groups of 4, and as Dean Kang said, if you'll make your way to the front for your coats. So the first group of coders will be Dean Kang, Dr. Safdie, Pena, and Silmi. Owens. Okay, I will start calling the names of the class members. We'll start with Meroz Ahmed, Serge Albarian, Paya Alexandra Amelio, and Sahil Anand. Christopher John Anchin, Nico Beckman, Alexander Berman, and Adrian Eve Biscoduros. Noe Baltazar, Juan Antonio Briano, Brianna Campbell, and Scott Carlson. Anirban Chakraborty, Bria Chernogle, Clara Grace Choate, and Jared Chow. Taya Cohen, William DeFaria, Bryce Demopoulos, and Nicholas Jose de Ruter. Carla Gabriela Diaz, Sarah Duran, Melissa Pham, and Irini Fithian. Grace Carrigan Forsyth, Robert Freitag, Nicole Marie Frontera, and Henry Underhill Gardner. We're going to change to the second group of coders. Dean Kang, we're going to hold on to you. And also Dr. Cohen, Dr. Golightly, and Dr. Finns. Okay. Maeve Fitzgerald Givens, Jeffers Chang Guthrie, Jacqueline Hahn, and Max Daiwei Harris. Michelle Ho, Christopher Cole Honeycutt, Tyler D. Hoskins, and Shifa Hussein. Spencer Nguyen, Michael Iskols, Asia Islam, and Isra Ismail. Alexander Jabari Vivar, Yusuf Jaker, Charlotte Jones, and Bryce Catch. Mia Kenworthy, Nadia Khan, Presh Kumar, and Kira Kwok. Stanley Lamb, John Eric Lama, Eugenia Lee, and Pio Lee. Serena Lee, Jin Lee, Joshua Lopez Scarum, and Alan W. Liu. We're going to change to our third group of coders at this point. That will bring up Drs. Keith Lascalia, Joy Howell, June Chan, and Dana Gurvich. Dylan Manuel, Daniel M. Markowitz, Justin Murad McCaskill, and Jackie Mayer. Nicholas Majias, Molly Monge, Sarah Muftu, and Isabel Ruth Murray. Rebecca B. Nodler, Noor Nassar, Santiago Noriega Madrazo, and Arsene Armarzakov. Simon Ortiz, Varun Rajesh Pai, Tatiana Stella Pavlitich, and Shathan Pavaluri. Simon Jacob Peck, Sarah Perlmutter, Stephen Govinda Persad, and Alyssa Pipia. Marissa K. Prosciutto, Fisher Sterling Price, Max Ellis Reed, and Miles Michael Reed. Claire Merrill Rodriguez, Edward Rodriguez Caceres, Ethan Alexander Romero, and Nicholas Rosenfield. Now for our final group of coders, we have Drs. Ara Lee, Joshua Weaver, Erica Abramson, and Kushal Shah. Sydney Taylor Roth, Liam Rayford Sasser, Jeffrey S. Shee, and Brianne Hughes Sobieski. Elizabeth Desenko, Eric Jeffrey Sun, Joshua Tabuena, and Nila Uthirasamy. Robert Nicholas Uzo, Fernando Vicente Segarra, Alanis Villanueva, and Chungyi Wan. Benjamin Robert Wasorek, Alicia Y., Stephen Wren, and Annie Wu. Tim Shu, Jenny Yao, Jaewon Yu, and Serena Zampino. And the final two students are Stephen Zeldin and Rebecca Zhang. Make it back.
Well, thank you, everyone. And as we conclude today's ceremony, I'd just like to say a few final words. I'll wait for the students to all be seated. So thank you to our faculty for serving as coders for this event, and to our inspirational white coat speaker, Dr. Lenny Golightly. Students, again, I can assure you that our coders represent the excellence of Weill Cornell Medicine and the dedication of our faculty to students here. Thank you as well to the staff in the education events, medical education, and external affairs offices. And a special thank you, as always, to Tasha Ramsey from the Griffiths Faculty Club for all of your efforts in making this white coat ceremony and the reception to come such a wonderful occasion. A heartfelt thank you as well to the Moss Family Foundation for the coats and for the stethoscopes which you received today, which are given in honor of Dr. Paul Miskovitz, clinical professor of medicine and an alumnus of Weill Cornell Medicine as well from the class of 1975. This ongoing commitment to Weill Cornell students serves to strengthen our Weill Cornell family. And thank you to the Weill Cornell Medical College alumni who generously continue to engage our students and to support the Stethoscope Fund. Students, when you received your stethoscopes today, you may have noticed that you also received a note from an alum who sends their very best wishes to you on this milestone occasion. You may not have seen it yet. It's like, yeah, see you opening your boxes now. That's good that you weren't doing that as we were having the ceremony. This is all good, But again, this is a testament to the community. We keep using that word, but it's a testament to the community. You are now truly family. And we hope you'll be in touch with your alumni sponsor. We know they'd love to hear from you. Thank you as well, last but not least, to all the loved ones who are here today. The ones who've supported all the amazing accomplishments and aspirations, of our students. We are aware, and they are aware as well, that they would not be here without all of you. And finally, one more welcome to our students. Class of 2027, you are a special addition to the family. You're entering medical school at a time where there continue to be significant changes in the healthcare delivery system and in the post-COVID world. And physicians are needed now more than ever to lead the way forward. Although the white coat, you've heard it before, is a uniform, if you will, of our profession, There should not and will not be uniformity in what each of you do and in your contributions. As a physician, you do have the power. Even now as a medical student, you do have the power and the opportunity to positively impact patients' lives in so many different ways. You bring diversity of thought and experience, intellectual firepower, endless energy and curiosity to Weill Cornell, and we're committed to you. You are truly the future of medicine. Please join me in one final round of applause for the class of 2027.